So this next topic is a bit of a somber one, but it appears, based upon reporting and a direct message from the company as posted on X, that Crytek is laying off around 15% of its workforce. And as it says also in the statement that Crysis 4 was put on hold as of quarter 3 2024, and the team is kind of focusing right now on the hunt, their kind of darling. I don't know what you'd call it. It's kind of an extraction shooter. It's a pretty great game, PvE, PvP. We've talked about it a couple times on the channel now. But in general, this is really sad news to hear. And I think I'm the resident Crysis guy, and I've got to say, I'd heard a little bit about this behind the scenes, but I didn't want to ever comment on it because, well, it's not my place. But it is a real shame, both for the people who are losing work as a result of this, and also in general for Crytek, which is a company that I feel like ever since Crysis 2 has been really struggling in a lot of ways. It's morphed and downsized and sold off its engine, and I don't even know if they're in the engine business so much so anymore as a result of that. And they didn't have many avenues for revenue. And I always felt like the popularity of a games as a service can only go on for so long. Only so many skins can be sold, only so many seasons can be sold before people maybe start wanting to move on, even if it is a wholly unique game like The Hunt is. And in this case, I thought maybe Crysis 4 would be a good way for them to get some money as well as some prestige and reputation back after kind of the issues that happened around the time of Rise and thereafter. But it doesn't seem like it'll be the case for the immediate future. So it is a really big shame, and my heart does go out to all those affected by layoffs. But I don't know. What do you guys think of this one, Oliver?
Yeah, I think it's disappointing in part because Hunt Showdown, I think it's a good game. It's a good game for a certain kind of person. I'm not that kind of person personally. And reorganizing the studio, it seems like around Hunt while abandoning their flagship series is a bit weird. But at the same time, I can kind of understand it from a couple different angles here, because a Crysis game has super high expectations, and they have to meet those expectations potentially with not the same size of team as some other developers might have to iterate on their flagship franchises. And the engine technology also probably needs a bit of a refresh and technical evolution before it would really satisfy the needs of players who are looking for a top-end PC experience, or even like a really advanced console experience potentially, if that's what they want to deliver. And, you know, development is long. Maybe you need some additional funding, some additional investment. You need probably some outside investment there. And maybe they ran into some development issues on top of that. It's been, I think, a little over 2 years since they made the announcement they were working on Crysis 4. So they've had some time, presumably in pre-production and possibly in production, and they may have encountered some issues there. So perhaps refocusing on Hunt plus a smaller title makes sense, but I kind of feel like that Crysis IP is super valuable and makes more sense to me to exploit than anything else Crytek could probably be working on realistically. The Crysis games are absolutely legendary, so maybe a spin-off, something a little bit smaller, who knows, maybe that could work. They had those remasters, obviously. Presumably they sold okay, at least, hopefully. Maybe they
I hope they did. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe there's some indications to whether that would be successful or not. But they're in a kind of a weird situation because they also have CryEngine, but outside of Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which does make use of the engine, does make very effective use of the engine, they really don't seem to have any upcoming third-party games that use CryEngine, unless you're counting Amazon Lumberyard games. Maybe that's a fork of CryEngine, but it's so long ago. I don't even know what titles are using Amazon Lumberyard, to be honest, at this point. So I don't really know where you go with this combination of factors, like Crysis 3 and Rise, Son of Rome. Both those games came out in 2013. That was kind of like the last hurrah, in my view, of Crytek, of the big Crytek era where they were like super dominant in terms of pushing out new technologies, in terms of iterating on CryEngine in really new and exciting ways, both on PCs and then of course later on the consoles. And Crysis 4 seemed like a huge bright spot for me, and I would have loved to have seen that project move forward, even if it was maybe not everything that Crysis 4 was in some players' heads. Maybe if it was a little bit of a smaller scale title, maybe if it wasn't pushing out the most advanced visuals. I still like the Crysis games in terms of gameplay. I still like them in terms of art. I still think they do a terrific job with that kind of stuff. Doesn't need to be absolutely everything in the world, but evidently they found that it was not working out, and I can understand that. But yeah, it's a bit of a disappointment. I'd love to see them revisit that at some point in the future, if at all possible. But yeah, I just hope they work on something interesting and work on something that actually is a big success for them.
Well, I think the first thing to say is, I really feel for all the people who have been laid off. That can't be an easy bullet to bite. And I really hope their work on what they've been working on at Crytek gets, appreciated in wherever they end up next. That helps propel them forward. As far as Crysis 4 is concerned, I'm gutted because Crysis is one of those big games, the sort of tentpole PC games, which I couldn't wait to replay again and again whenever I upgraded my GPU back in the day. And Warhead as well I have a fond memory of that. But so I was actually banking on Crysis 4 being the big comeback moment for Crytek. And now it does feel like that's kind of slumping back with the director, according to the VGC news article, having gone back to IO Interactive, which is where he originally came from. So that's a real sort of damning indictment of the state of the project, and I think that's going to set it back a good. If it's even still ongoing, it's going to set it back a good few years. I really hope to be proven wrong on that. But as far as CryEngine, I'm still surprised to see, I was looking at where CryEngine is nowadays. Are there any games? And obviously there's Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, but then that's, I suspect, purely because Warhorse Studios was kind of inclined to use the same technology as its first game. The first game was made to release in 2018 or so. Production on that started many 3-4 years prior to that, when CryEngine was a very viable, compelling engine to use. We even had a Sonic game built on that engine at the time. So around that period, and Rise was hot. Rise on Xbox One. So it was the emergent technology of that era. But so Kingdom Come Deliverance 2 being on that is just sort of a legacy choice, I think. So shame, and I don't see any others on the horizon. So the Hunt Showdown feels like it, unless Crytek really rallies around building a new, completely revised engine and gives it a good final push, I guess. And it would have to be Crysis 4 that
it would have to be. There's no other debut title to do anything. I mean, the concept that you just described earlier, Oliver, for example, staying with the Hunt, maybe can that game get arguably larger? And then how do you bring out new areas and places to sell a product, new revenue streams? And it doesn't actually seem very positive of an outlook, and I don't like that because the German development community has been rocked in the last couple of years as a result of layoffs, game studios closing, really big names being gobbled up and then chewed and spit out. And for me, I was always really keen on Crytek, not just because of the technology, but it was a studio homegrown here. Really cool success story, really legendary status as a result of games like Crysis 1 especially. And to see that go away over time has always been a shame. And now to see it not having a great future is even more of a shame. I don't know what the future looks like now. I hope Crytek pulls through. I have no idea what that will look like if they pull through. But right now, really big downer news, obviously. So sad, but so it is sometimes in this industry. Really rough place. But I think that's really all we have to say about that topic. Let's move on.